What's going on, fellas? Just want to make this quick video. Now, obviously, you guys know that I have not been married, so you guys might come up here and say that, Zeke, what do you know about marriage and divorce? You know nothing. Well, yes and no, because not just because I have not been married, so yeah, I probably don't know the first-hand experience, but also because my dad was in the same boat that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So I do have some sort of first-hand experience because I've seen it when I was a little kid, obviously, because he has not been in my life for pretty much all of my life, except the very early ages. And I vaguely remember here and there about how his life was going at that time. And him and I talked a few years down the road from that point, which was a few years before this point right now, a few years ago. And we kind of caught up on how things were going for him, and it was all going downhill. Anyways, guys, we all know the usual cost of divorce, right? We all know that us having to split half of our assets with her, paying her child support if you have kids with her, because most likely she's gonna get the kids from the court order. We all know that we're gonna have to pay her alimonies, that, and the other. Like, we all know the financial burden, right? We get it. We also know the mental stress that come with it, because this person who you really loved and trusted and cared for is now walking out of your life, and you've been with this person for probably so many years, x amount of years. And not only that, financially it's draining your wallet, but also mentally and emotionally it's killing you, because you don't have that person who you shared so many years of memories with in your life anymore, right? And even your kids, if you have kids, that's even worse. Like, a part of you is going away from you, literally, that your kids are a part of you, right? And they're getting away from your life, and you can't really do anything about it because how the marriage laws and the divorce laws are set up in this country, in the West. It's all favored towards women, and we know this all. But what we don't see and what we don't think about is the opportunity cost that come with divorce, that come with marriage. What's an opportunity cost, you ask? Opportunity cost is, if you do X and you don't do Y, you're missing out on the advantages of Y. Now, obviously, there's disadvantages in Y and there's advantages in X. There's obviously pros and cons in both X and Y. But that's the calculations you have to make on your own. That's the risks you have to measure on your own time. Is what are the pros and cons of X, and what are the pros and cons of Y? And now, which direction do I want to go? Which thing do I want to pick between X and Y? Because if you pick Y, obviously your opportunity cost is going to be X. But if Y has more advantages and less disadvantages than X, then you obviously are going to go after Y, right? Now hear me out. Yeah, if your marriage lasts forever, if you are one of those lucky ones who in this society, in today's world, can last their marriage forever, 40, 50, 60 years till you die, that's great for you, my dude. Yes, you made something out of that time. You know, I always talk about time in this channel because that's your biggest asset. If you are a young man, you don't have a whole lot of money, you don't have a whole lot of things right now, a whole lot of materialistic thing, but the biggest asset that an old man doesn't have, an older man with an older gentleman with money and resources, what he doesn't have is time. And I promise you, if you talk to any older successful men, they would always tell you at some point in the conversation, if you can actually ask the right type of questions to them, that, man, I wish I had more time. Man, I wish I could go back and change this, that, and the other. People always talk about going back in time and changing some things, right? If you were to go back in time right now, there's some things you'd probably want to change. There isn't a whole lot that I would change. I mean, tweaks, small tweaks, trivial tweaks here and there I would make in my life, adjustments, yeah, for sure. But in the majority of the part, I'm fine of where I am. But a lot of you guys I know are not where you want to be, and this is because of the past decisions you've made. And if you could go back and change them, you would do that in a heartbeat. I know that. So that's why I tell you, time is so valuable and so important, especially when you're a young guy. And this is the biggest resource that you have, is time. So you have to utilize it instead of chasing tails and wasting that time down the toilet. Anyways, so if your marriage works out in that sense and you get a great family out of it, your kids are all grown up, they're all successful, and they have made it in their life. You were able to be a good father to them, a good role model to them. You were able to guide them in the right direction. None of them ended up being a gangbanger or a thug or a loser, right? Great for you, my dude. Great for you. And your wife is still with you. You guys are both happily married, even 50 years after. You guys still love each other to death, and you guys still get it on 3 times a week. Okay? That's great for you. But how many of those scenarios actually happen? Just because you see a couple on Instagram or Facebook pictures taking couple pictures or yearly photos looking all happy and giggly doesn't mean they're actually happy in the behind the screen. Doesn't mean that it's actually working out for them. Because you don't see the other 364 days in their life. You're only looking at one day's event. So maybe they're miserable, which they are most of the time. 50% marriages end in divorce, 50 or 60%, whatever stats you want to believe in. But that doesn't mean the rest of the marriages are happy. That doesn't mean the rest of the marriages are actually working out. Just because they're not ending in divorce doesn't mean that they're happy. Just because she's dating a guy for 2, 3, 5 years doesn't mean they're actually really happy. You have to understand that as a red pill aware man. So what is the cost that you're paying? The opportunity cost. If you go down this marriage route, this divorce route, whatever. You are leaving that time out of your life that you could have used in building something else. I literally talked about this in my last video, or no, a couple of videos ago, that with this time, instead of throwing it down the toilet, instead of getting married, instead of going for a marriage life, going for a settled life, if you wanted to create a company, a business, a real estate empire. How do you build a real estate empire? You start buying houses after houses after houses, you fix them up, you rent them out, or you flip them. There's wholesale processes. There's so many different type of ways you can make money on real estate. And you keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And it takes time. Building a company up takes time. Anything worthwhile in life takes time. Just like how it took you time to go after this woman that you're with right now. Get her number, take her out on a date, say the right things, do the right things, date her for a few years, and then pop the question, and then take her down the aisle on your marriage day. Right? Walk down the aisle with her. That took time as well. So everything that's going to be, I don't want to say worthwhile, because you don't know the outcome. Even if you're opening a business up, even if you're investing in real estate, you still don't know the outcome, right? Just like you don't know the outcome of your marriage, if it's going to end in divorce or not. But if your company fails, if your real estate investments fail, yes, you're losing money, but you're keeping your mental sane. Your emotions are not as much as hurt as they would have been if somebody used you and threw you out their life. If somebody is now using you after the fact, after the fact that your marriage didn't work out, she's still getting money from you every month, child support, alimony, whatever. Your business or company doesn't work like that. If it flops, all the money you spent on that business or that company flops. But from that point on, now you have a choice. Do you want to keep putting money into it? Or if you want to open something else up? Or if you just want to save your money and don't open anything up at all, you just want to save your money for your retirement days. But if you get married and it doesn't work out, now not only all the money that you have spent up till that divorce point flops, but also after that, you don't have a choice but to pay her even more. But to pay somebody who's not even doing anything for your life. Who is not helping you grow in your life in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Who's not cooking for you, cleaning for you, having sex with you, nothing, and you're still having to pay them. That's the opportunity cost you're leaving out on the table. Now it's up to you to ask that question, is it still worth it? I already know the answer to myself. If you really ought to get married, yes, there's alternative ways. Is there really a best way? Not really. There's always risks. There's always pros and cons with every marriage situation. Regardless if you marry her, if you get married to a girl here, or if you get married to somebody overseas and you keep her there, or you get married to somebody overseas and you bring her here, whatever you do, there's always pros and cons. Even if you go in a contract with a girl that, hey, this marriage is just for me to get some kids out of you, after that we're done. Even that has pros and cons. So you always have to you always have to measure and weigh your pros and cons, because if you dedicate your time in this marriage life in whatever route out of these 3 or 4 routes I just showed you, if you really want to get married, if you want to dedicate your time in whatever route of one of these, if you want to dedicate your time in any of these routes, you have to know that there's other routes in your life. There's other things you could building in your life that you're leaving the time out of. Instead, you're taking the time from that and you're putting it into this. That's the opportunity because nobody talks about. Is what are you leaving out instead of getting married? You have to think about these things, fellas. I mean, obviously, if you're young, if you have time in your hand, you wouldn't understand any of this. I was lucky enough to understand the value of time at such an early age. I'm in my early 20s, so I was very lucky to understand that. And that's why I'm like, it frustrates me sometimes when I really sit down and think about my future and I ask myself, am I going the right direction? Even though I'm doing everything in my power right now to make the best out of my life, to become the best successful version of myself, I still sit down and ask myself that, is this the route I should be going? And obviously I don't waste my time, money, energy into women. I mean, energy every now and then, yeah, I'll hop back onto the dating scene, get my rocks off and do my thing, and then I'll hop back off. Sorry, I'll hop on the dating scene for a few months and then hop back off. But that's trivial time. I mean, yeah, I'm still wasting some time, but that's necessary. Completely going monk mode at an early age is not healthy. So that's why I said it's necessary. So yeah, fellas, I mean, I'm not going to be talking about my whole life investments and my whole life's plan in this video because it's pointless, especially at this point of my channel where my channel is not at the point where I want it to be, to share my stories completely with you guys. So if my channel ever gets to that point and you guys are able to hear it, my story, and I'm lucky enough to share it to you guys, you'll see that how like I have my every step of my life planned already. I have a vision. I know where I'm going. I can see myself in that direction that I'm heading. But still, I sit down and I get very frustrated and angry at myself sometimes. Is that, am I going the right direction? Or am I just, or is this, because right now in my early 20s, this is prime time for me to set my life up for success. So if I don't utilize this time right, there's no way when it's too late and the results start coming out into the things that I'm putting my time into right now, there's no way to go back and come back to this time and start all over. So I have to plan very smart and plan accordingly. And that's a very, very hard thing to do, fellas, especially when you have minimal life experience. You have all these gurus and on the internet telling you to put your money here, money there, do this, do that to be successful, but really you have to answer it for yourself. All we can do is give you the tools and explain to you of what certain actions might bring to your life. But then at the end of the day, you're the one who have to carry that burden. You're the one who have to carry that responsibility of making those decisions. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody will do it for you. So that's a very hard decision you have to make at a very early age. And that's why I feel bad for women as well, because they're not taught any of this. At least I have learned this somehow. But women, they're not taught any of this. Their family, their friends, nobody. I was forced to learn this stuff from my heartbreak with my ex-girlfriend. That's how I got accustomed to the red pill information. But most women, if they go through a heartbreak, they just call some dude up and they come and bang him out. Women always have more options than us, than they always will, because of beta simps, because of how many thirsty dudes are out here. A guy who's a 10 will never have as many options as a girl who's a 10. That's just facts. And that's why their vision is so blurred with this false attention that they get from people to see their real truth in life, to really accept red pill. Women will never accept red pill. That's just the truth. So we can't. That's why we can't get mad and angry at them and be frustrated at them. We have to accept them for who they are, and we have to change our own lives to make the best results, to get the best results that we want out of life. You can never control what other people do, but you can always control what you do. Back to my dad's example, guys. He got married 3 times. The first one was with my mother, and they got divorced. He didn't lose a whole lot because he didn't have anything at that time. Then he got married again, got divorced, lost half of his stuff. Then he got married again, lost, got divorced, lost even half of that stuff. Now he's dating some other chick. So he spent his whole life just chasing tails and getting married here and there and there. He has like 3 other kids besides me. I never got child support out of him because the part of the world that I'm from, guys can get away with doing a lot of things to women unfairly that they can, then they can't here. So my mother couldn't really do a whole lot to get child support out of him. So because of how the laws are in place back in my home country. There's all sorts of effed up situations going on there. So, but then he moved to a westernized culture, and then he's screwed because now the government is after him to pay child support and alimony and whatnot. And all of his money is just now going down the toilet every single month. A big portion of his paycheck is going to his ex-wives and his kids. And he's a nobody. He's a loser. My dad is a loser. He's a personal trainer at some crappy gym, and I don't know what else he does. I think he does something else, but I can't remember. But that's not how you should be living your life. He's thinking he's doing the best out of his life, but no, dude. People are literally taking your money away from you, and they're not even doing anything for you. They're not even providing you with any service. That's like saying that you're giving a homeless person half of your paycheck. But in this case, that person is not even homeless. So you're not really helping them out. That person has their money, and they're still taking yours. How does that make you feel? Instead, if my dad really paid attention in his life and used his time and his resources in the right direction, he probably would be a millionaire by now. So he took his time away from that path and put it into the wrong one. Again, yes, there's marriages out there that work out, but that's, in my opinion, a way greater risk to take than if you would just start a company. Hope this video made sense. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Until next time, stay blessed, stay beautiful, and above all, stay classy.